So you have decided to take control of your finances and get your budget in order to live the life that you deserve. But you have run into a problem. There are so many budgeting styles that you need to choose from that is almost impossible to figure out which one is right for you. In today's video, that's what we are going to try and figure out. We will be going over the 6 most common styles of budgeting, discussing the advantages and disadvantages associated with each style, and hopefully making it easier for you to make a decision on which to start with and use. Hey everyone, welcome back to Legend Finance, a channel where you can learn more about personal finances and other financial related topics. Topics that school never taught us about. And if any of these topics sound interesting to you, don't forget to give this channel a like and subscribe, and be sure to press the notification bell icon and be notified every time we upload a new video. The 6 most common styles of budgeting are the percentage-based budget, the hard copy budget, the comprehensive budget, the automatic budget, the value-based budget, and the reverse budget. We will just be focusing on the 6 most common styles of budgeting for personal finance today. Now let's get started with the list. 1. Percentage-based budgeting. One common style of budgeting is known as the percentage-based budget. The percentage-based budget comes in many forms. T. Harv Eker's 6-jar budgeting method, Jim Rohn's 70-10-10-10 budget, Richard Jenkins' 60% solution, and the 50-30-20 budget based on the book All You're Worth by Elizabeth Warren are all popular examples of this budgeting style. On a basic level, their purposes are the same. They are meant to help you allocate certain percentage of your money towards covering all of your financial obligations and goals. The percentages differ, of course. For example, under the 50-30-20 method, you simply divide your income up into 3 categories listed in the budget. 50% of your income goes towards your necessities, 30% goes towards your wants, and 20% goes towards your financial goals. While in the 70-10-10-10 budget, 70% goes towards your needs, 10% goes towards your active capital, such as a savings account. Another 10% goes towards your passive capital, like a 401k plan, and the last 10% is for charity. Despite these differences, the fundamental goal is to remain the same. The primary advantage of this type of budget lies in its simplicity. With every dollar you make, you already know exactly how much money is going toward each category in your budget. And provided that you aren't in dire straits financially, and the percentages are accurately applied to meet your goals, any of these percentage-based budgets can work out very well. Problems arise when the percentages aren't applied accurately for your goals, or when you are in dire straits financially. Percentage-based budgets can have several cons, including: first is lack of flexibility. Percentage-based budgets may not allow for adjustments based on the changes in conditions, such as unexpected expenses or changes in income. Next is inadequate funding. A percentage-based budget may not provide enough funding for critical needs. For example, if your income decreases, your budget will decrease proportionally, which could result in underfunding of essentials. Lastly, encourages wasteful spending. In some cases, a percentage-based budget can incentivize you to spend your entire budget amount, even if the spending is unnecessary. 2. Hard copy budgeting. The second common style of budgeting is the hard copy budget. The most popular version of this budget is the envelope or cash-only budget. The primary purpose of this budget and its biggest strength is ensuring that you never live on more than you make and that you can control your spending, particularly in areas of the budget that are often considered budget breaking. After all, if you are truly using a cash-only budget, you simply can't spend cash that isn't there, and as a result, you are going to have a much harder time going into debt. To set up the budget, you simply label a bunch of envelopes with the names of various things you spend money on, such as groceries, restaurants, eating out, entertainment, gas, clothing, and so on. Figure out how much you want to spend in each of those categories. Write it down on the envelope and fill the envelopes with the appropriate amount when you get paid. A couple of things we should take note of here are that if you get paid twice a month, you may only be able to put in half of the amount that you wrote on the envelope. And that's fine. Most of the time, people using this budget don't have envelopes for things like mortgage payments, insurance premiums, or cell phone bills, because those expenses are usually more stable and predictable. We also like to clarify that while it is okay to adjust your budget amounts for each envelope as you go along, you are not going to get it right the first time. The key is to make sure that you don't start taking money out of the food envelope in order to buy that nice pair of jeans, because you are going to run out of money and rack up debt, which defeats the purpose of this budgeting style, which is the only con of using this method. If having cash in those envelopes is going to tempt you to overspend and later beat yourself up over it, then you may want to try another budgeting method. 3. Automatic budgeting. A third common style of budgeting is the automatic budget, sometimes known as a no-budget budget. The purpose of this budgeting style is to automatically make as many of your financial decisions for you as possible, in order to give you the fewest possible opportunities to be your own worst enemy and break your budget. This is done by setting up automatic payments for things like your mortgage, rent, cell phone bill payment, savings, retirement contributions, and anything else you can automate. Remember, if you never actually see the money, it's a lot harder to spend it on things it wasn't meant to be spent on. The best thing about this style of budgeting is that once it is properly set up, you know whatever money is left over is yours to spend on whatever you want, guilt-free. In a way, this style of budgeting is like the hard copy budget on steroids because it takes the biggest con of that budgeting style and makes sure it is much likely less to occur. However, this isn't to say that this budgeting style is without flaws. If you are going to use it in the long term, you are going to make sure that you have well-defined financial goals to shoot for. This is mainly due to the fact that this style of budgeting is more hands-off by nature than most. It's very easy to set things up and have everything going on initially, and 10 years zip by without any major troubles until you realize that your long-term goals are going to be hard to achieve if you don't start putting enough money towards them from the beginning. 4. Zero-sum budget. A fourth common style of budgeting is the zero-sum budget, which is a budget that tries to make your income minus your expenses equal zero each and every month. Its purpose is to give every dollar a job on the paper before the month begins, so that there's no mystery or surprises that come up that you can't handle. It's called a comprehensive budget because of the sheer amount of detail that goes into it when it is properly set up. Everything from your mortgage payments to your emergency fund, Christmas gifts, and card tabs can be accounted for. And you are not done until you've given every dollar an assignment. The biggest advantage of this budget is obvious. There are no surprises that you can't handle, and you know exactly where all of your money is going. This makes it easier to figure out where you can cut expenses, along with a whole host of other things. There's a reason why you should at least try this budget, because there are a lot of benefits that it can give you when it's done properly for a long time to come, even if you eventually switch to a different budgeting style. The biggest disadvantage is probably the level of detail associated with creating it. It can be quite a daunting task the first time you sit down and do it. But there are many apps and spreadsheet templates out there to help make the first go easier for you, and if you're doing the budget electronically, it is pretty easy to add and remove items each month as you go along. 5. Reverse budgeting. A fifth common style of budgeting is known as reverse budgeting. Reverse budgeting takes a savings-first approach by forcing you to figure out how much money you need to save each month to cover your future financial goals, and then blow the rest of your money on whatever you want guilt-free. This budget obviously has many similarities to some of the other budgeting styles, but the main thing that distinguishes it is its focus on paying yourself first. The strongest advantage to this is that, compared to other budgeting styles anyway, you are less likely to find yourself in a position where you don't have enough money to cover your long-term future plans. Because the first and most important thing that you figure out with this budget every month is how much you need to save in order to cover your future financial goals and commitments. The con of using this style of budget is that, especially in the beginning, you may find yourself living on a shoestring budget after your savings have been made. This usually happens if your savings goals are very lofty and need to be available to you in a short period of time, or if you aren't making much money. Thankfully, what this can do for you is help you focus on ways to improve your offensive strategy so that you can earn more money and improve your standard of living. 6. Values-based budgeting. A sixth common style of budgeting is known as values-based budgeting. It's set up in a very similar way to zero-sum budget, except that the primary goal is to direct the majority of your spending toward things that you actually care about. As a result, if done properly, it is very good at helping you to cut unnecessary costs while simultaneously increasing your enjoyment in regards to the money that you do spend. In addition to having probable positive effects on your general mood and happiness outside of the times when you are actively spending money or working on your budget. Thank you so much for watching Legend Finance. Remember that there will always be options, so don't ever let your discouragement stop you from reaching your own version of financial success. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to see more of our videos. Bye for now!